it feels that new capital's coming into the space because it's moving out of the risk curve. So we saw Bitcoin going up first part of the what I call crypto spring. So all year it was Bitcoin. But what we're starting to see is the movement towards the ETF, and that gets front running of capital from other people as well, hedge funds and others. So the way to think about the ETF, I think is really useful. Here's the crypto economy. And it has been starved of new capital recently. And the ETF is a trade deal between TradFi, the TradFi economy, and this new economy. So we've just started a trade deal. Doesn't mean we're going to get the trade, but it's looking like we'll start to get foreign direct investment into the crypto economy. What happens then is how I think about this. My mental model is, okay, so the money goes into Bitcoin first, but everybody who's been in this market has been front running it by owning Bitcoin. So then the next thing they'll go is, well, they're going to do the ETH ETF next. It'll go to the ETH ETF, that will run. And then meanwhile, we've got other stories of things that are getting traction, Solana, Chainlink, others that are starting to rise as the capital's coming into the space. Everybody saw, Bitcoin really started taking off when the banks were struggling. I saw this firsthand in Europe back in 2012 and 13 with Cyprus. Bitcoin exploded because people understood you couldn't keep your money in the bank. And that's when I first got into the whole space. And it's happening in the US again. And people are like, oh, I get it now. Listen, you have been given one gift, is you can buy a fractionalized asset that you can be a billionaire, or you can make $200 a week and you can put 10% of your money in it because it's fractionalized. And it's the first truly global asset that's the same for the person in Brazil as for India, as for Philadelphia. It's one asset. So that's really, really empowering for people. So there is a chance. And also, I've talked a lot about this before, this is the first time the little guy gets a chance to front run the institutions.
Amazing.
And it's not easy. Maybe dollar cost average, don't use leverage, and put it on your ledger device. Your probability of success is extremely high. And then you get to front run, which is the institutions. What you want to do is look at things versus Bitcoin and see where things are. Now, ETH has always been very interesting to me because the whole down cycle, it didn't do the down 90% versus Bitcoin. Many of the existing alts do, because we know it's a massive ecosystem. Also, ETH, everything changed for me when it got deflationary in large activity, because actually the biggest activity is in a bull market. So it becomes scarcer in a bull market. That's like, okay, nobody really thought that one through. The other thing is it now has a yield. And if you think of institutions, they like things with yields. So they don't like gold because it doesn't have a yield. ETH does. I started buying Solana in last year, June through till December to average. And I just had the feeling, and I looked at the chart and I saw the Solana ecosystem. And then I saw people like Tolly, who's Anatoly. He's just classy. Yeah. He's just so good. And I'm like, okay, this is really interesting. I'd met him previously and saw the kinds of people he was involved with. And they were like the heads of all of these amazing businesses. I'm like, obviously can't talk about it publicly, but like, okay, this is amazing. We've got Solana at supposedly 65,000 TPS. We've got a layer 2 like Polygon at about the same, but less secure than a layer 1. Okay, fine. This is a layer 1 of Solana that does 20x. So they're saying it's fast enough to run the entire securities industry. Twitter only runs at 24,000 TPS.
Yes.
So you can run all of social media, you can run high frequency trading, you can do anything. So all I think is use case. Use cases explode. And it just becomes very interesting. So that's why I'm very bullish in all of that. It's a very, very big deal. Chris Boniski phrased it well, the guys at Placeholder VC, that they were saying, if you think of ETH as the Android economy, so it's a big open source network that you can do lots of different things with, and Solana is more like Apple. It's like a single operating system, but a very good one. And those, your Android phone can speak to your Apple phone. So it all works in the end. NFTs are just an asset in the ETH economy. Assets, if you think of the stock market versus real estate, the stock market's led real estate by about 18 months.
Yeah.
And so what's been really interesting is the crypto cycle is the same as the economic cycle. So if I look at the cycle of Rolex watches, secondhand watches, and Patek Philippe's, exactly follow the NFT cycle. And they will turn. Why? Because everybody's been puking anything to get some cash because everybody's skimps right now. So the best way is you sell some of these assets, and then eventually the assets find a base. We all start making a bit of money again. We all go out and buy the Rolex watch and the NFTs. Luckily, most people don't think of NFTs in dollar terms. They think of them in ETH terms. But many of these things are down 80% in ETH terms, and ETH was down 70% in dollar terms. I mean, it's a 99% washout for many people. But as you say, that's when it gets really interesting. It gets really interesting when everybody's had their hope go away and they don't believe that anybody can do anything with this space ever again. That's when I start tuning in the right people on Twitter. Okay, so let's go through that case with Solana in what we've just enabled. They cracked the NFT compression, which means that they can mint 1 million NFTs for $100. So an NFT is just a contract that lives on chain. Every derivative, everything is a contract, and they can be all unique, but also tickets, all ticketing. When you're issuing tickets like that, it's cheaper than paper tickets.
Yep.
And having a chain that is this fast, if that proves to be correct, means that you can use it for exchanges, which you weren't able to do before because blockchains were too slow. You need to, if you think about it, what happened, the high frequency trading business is all about one thing, the speed of light. So they've got fiber optic cables and they're trying to get the information down into the exchange and back again as close to the speed of light as possible. So what these jump trading guys are saying is, well, we know what we're trying to do is the speed of light. So we just need to make a chain that can do that. And if we can do it, then we can do high frequency trading. And if we can do that, then it means that anything in the financial markets can be settled on chain. If you've got plenty of money buying some NFT projects at lows right now that are super high end, well respected, but the only other thing is utility projects. That's very different. If you're buying it because you get use for it, like we got the Real Vision Collective, and with that you get a membership to Real Vision and you get to events, and that's a whole different thing. But that's a membership card, which is an incredible use case. It's a membership card you pay for once and not every year. So that's fine. But the standard stuff, yeah. And somebody's going to make a fortune out of choosing the right ones, much like people bought ETH in 2018 down 97.5%, or Solana down 97.5% this time around.